This one's from Bradford. I think access is the key to releasing yourself from overconsumption. I'd love to hear how to determine what you need to own versus what you have access to. And then he makes a very good point here. Underwear falls into the ownership camp, I assume.
Can you get underwear on Omni yet?
You cannot.
Thank God.
Ryan, are you wearing the underwear today, or was it me?
I'm not wearing any underwear.
Well, yeah, I think so. What Bradford is saying here is,
yeah, it's a good question.
I think access is the key to releasing yourself from overconsumption. Yeah, but also maybe, but also when I think about this, like, I don't think there's a such thing as too much access, but I think there is a thing as taking advantage of too much access.
Yeah, you can skew the complete other way. So the same way you get your worth from, if you're getting your entire self-worth from the things that you own, you're buying these things for your own ego, or what we talked about earlier, you could go the same thing on the access route.
Yeah.
You could, rent all the cool stuff and, do all that just to feed the same emotion.
Yeah.
And so I don't think access is inherently good and ownership is inherently bad, but I think it's all about setting yourself up to be able to live the life that you want to live.
Well, yeah, I mean, he said he wants, you'd like to hear us to talk about what you need to own versus what you need to have access to, and that's going to be different for every single person. I mean, everyone's got different preferences. Everyone has different needs. Me and Mariah, we don't have any kids, so we don't need any kids stuff. But you guys need kids stuff.
Yeah, we went to there's like this toy warehouse down on Miracle Mile, and like. Mostly inspired by Derek Sivers, a conversation I had with him. Especially, we did this. We filmed it too. I will eventually do something with the footage. We had this backstage conversation with him. Now, backstage was a weird conference room. We were at a horse track. It was the strangest thing ever. But we had this conversation with him about like owning toys, and the thing he talked about on stage is like, well, you can't be a minimalist with kids or whatever, and I think Ryan pushed back a little bit and said, well, if you bought 10 boxes of toys for your kid, he's not going to be any happier with that one box. And so there's an appropriate amount. But I realized that when the babysitter would come over, Chrissy, and babysit Ella, she's like, where's her toys? And I'm like, they're right there, both of them. Like not literally, but like I realized like, oh yeah, I should probably get more toys for Ella and not like force this lifestyle onto her. Now, I did this video with Ella recently during the living room conversations. We were like putting together this toy set. It was like Legos. I forget what it was called, but we were building this hospital so she could inject things into these little mannequins or whatever. I don't know, whatever she's into. And what I realized, like, by going and buying that stuff is like, what is the appropriate amount? Because the study I saw is the average child owns nearly 300 toys but plays with only 12 daily.
Yeah.
And that goes back to this whole thing of, are we just buying a bunch of sort of distractions and pacifiers, or are these things that the kids will really get a lot of value from? And if they stop getting value from it, the thing that we do with Ella is we just have her donate it, and she realizes why they donate it, because some other kid will be able to play with it.
Yeah. I think when it comes to ownership versus access, for me, like having rules like for the things that I own, meaning like the 90-90 rule that Josh and I have. Basically, anything that I haven't used in the last 90 days, and if I really think about it, not going to use in the next 90 days, I probably would get rid of it. There are a few things like seasonal items, like a winter jacket or a snowboard, of course, that like it's going to be a just for when rather than a just in case.
Yeah.
But I think like that's the thing that people need to do if they want to really be clear on, okay, what do I need to have access to and what do I need to own? What rules do you have for yourself? Is it 90-90? Maybe for someone else it's 6 months, or maybe it's a year. It doesn't matter what the number is to help us determine what we need to own versus what we have to have access to. I think, yes, we need to look at our preferences, look at our situation, but also just create some boundaries for ourselves to kind of keep us from over consuming. I think Brad's got a really good point. Oh shoot, I lost it. I had another thought, but then I lost it. No, I mean, just kind of going off of what Brad was talking about here. Yes, you don't have to have access to underwear. You should own underwear.
And what I hope happens.
Or not.
Yeah. What I hope is that technology can help us, because if you think about 10 years ago, if you needed a car to get to work, even occasionally, there was no Zipcar, there was no Get Around, there was no Uber, there was no Lyft.
Ryan took an Uber here today because
Taxis.
his garage was broken.
Yeah, there you go.
Couldn't get my car out.
Taxis might have been impossible to call where you lived, and so you might actually have needed to own a car.
Yeah.
And now it could be totally feasible a decade later to not own a car.
Right.
And what I'm hoping we see is that, you know, a huge wave of, you know, basically technology platforms that allow us to own, you know, that sphere, that circle basically grows, where now it's sort of, you can get access to cars really easily, but then what if there was that next wave out of things you could get access to, and then the next wave out after that? Because it's all about how easy you can get access to it. If you have to drive 2 hours to go rent a stroller for the 9 months you have a kid, you're not going to do that. You're going to just buy a stroller and Amazon it. But if you get that to deliver to your house and rent it for 9 months, you might be way more likely to do that.
Yeah.
And so
I think about the very first time we went out on tour. Basically, this guy was using Omni before Omni existed. We were in Albuquerque, remember? And the guy came up to us afterward and said, hey, I need a chainsaw only like once or twice a year, and so I will go to my storage locker and get it, and then when I'll use it, and then I'll put it back on the storage locker when I'm done, and that storage locker is called Craigslist. And so he's like, I'll buy it for $25 or $30 or $100, and I'll sell it back for roughly the same price as soon as I'm done. And I'm like, man, one day there's going to be an Uber for chainsaws, and here it is. And now there is one.